Hello everyone. Today I'll be presenting a multimodal play-based learning experience that I designed for Amina, a 3-year-old child from the case study provided in the assessment instructions. The experience is called Story Makers Building and Telling with Bluey Adventures. It brings together storytelling, construction play, and digital technology to help support Amina's language development, her social interaction, and her confidence in communicating with others. In this presentation, I will walk through the learning experience, explain the reasoning behind my planning decisions, and link it to the early years learning framework version 2, outline the key theoretical perspectives that influenced my approach, and also address ethical considerations and my AI declaration. Amina is a 3-year-old girl of Pakistani heritage who lives in a bilingual household where Urdu is the mainly spoken language at home. She is socially engaged, active, and enjoys interacting with others. However, the case study highlights communication as an area where she is still developing, particularly in relation to the English language use. Amina also has her clear interests, especially in Bluey, educational videos, and DIY style maker content. These interests are really valuable because they give us something familiar and motivating to build her learning around. So, the purpose of this learning experience is to support Amina's English language development in a way that feels playful, meaningful, and culturally responsible. By combining storytelling, hands on building, and digital tools, Amina isn't limited to just spoken English. Instead, she can express herself in different ways, which is really important at this level of development. There are 5 key learning objectives for this experience. Firstly, Amina will take part in imaginative play using simple English words and gestures. Secondly, she will follow 1 to 2 step instructions during the building and construction tasks. Thirdly, she will use different forms of communication like speaking, drawing, movement, and digital recording to share her ideas and views. Fourthly, she will participate in group play with her peers, including taking turns and contributing to shared storytelling. And finally, she will build confidence in using everyday English vocabulary related to family, play, and familiar objects. Together, these objectives directly respond to the communication and social developmental needs identified in her case study. The main early years learning framework outcome linked to this experience is the outcome 5, which states that children are effective communicators. This outcome is about children using language, symbols, stories, and digital tools to express meanings and communicate their ideas. In this experience, Amina is constantly engaging with communication in different forms, like when she is listening to her peers, speaking, gesturing, creating, and sharing. Now I will walk through the learning experience overview. The learning experience Story Makers Building and Telling with Bluey Adventures happens in 4 main phases. The first phase will include the story introduction, in which the educator will show Bluey picture cards and talks about the story with the children using simple questions and visual prompts. Next is the building stage, where the children will use building materials like blocks, Legos, recycled items, and craft supplies to create their own Bluey inspired words such as a house, park, or a playground. Then comes the digital storytelling stage where the children will take photos of their creations using an iPad, and then the educator will record their voices narrating what they built and how they built it and their views regarding it. Finally, there will be a sharing and reflection phase where the children will all come together to present their stories to the whole group. They will listen to others and give simple feedback. Overall, the experience blends physical play, imaginative thinking, visual communication, and digital technology in a meaningful way. Now we'll talk a bit about the intentional teaching strategies that I used for this experience. Language scaffolding is one key approach where the educators will model simple words and gently expand on what the children are saying. Visual supports like pictures, gestures, and demonstrations help Amina understand what to do. Peer modeling is also very important as Amina can learn by watching her friends who are more confident in English. Repetition is also used to help her reinforce new vocabulary words that she learned. And the educator also uses wait time, which will give Amina and the other children some space to think and respond without any pressure. Finally, translation validation is used by acknowledging Urdu words when they appear and then connecting them to English language learning in a respectful way. This can either be done by an educator who is proficient in the Urdu language or by using translation apps. All of these strategies support both communication development and inclusion. This experience uses a mix of digital and physical resources. Digital tools include a tablet or an iPad with a recording function in it, and Bluey visual materials like the Bluey story cards, and also a simple slideshow app, just like Canva. Physical resources also includes building blocks, Legos, cardboard, recycled materials, markers, glue paper, puppets, and mini soft toys. These resources were chosen intentionally because they are first affordable, accessible, and suitable for a diverse range of learning environments. They also connect directly to Amina's interests in building, crafting, and exploring. Family context and cultural awareness were a really important aspect when I designed this experience. Amina, she comes from a Pakistani Australian family and she lives in a multilingual home environment. Rather than seeing this as a barrier, the experience actively values it by encouraging both Urdu and English during play and discussions. Families can also be invited to contribute by sharing some photos, stories, or cultural experiences that children can represent in their building or their storytelling. This experience is inclusive because it allows children to communicate in different ways through speech, drawing, building, and digital recording. This ensures that children who are still developing English are still fully included and able to participate meaningfully. Overall, it promotes belonging, respect, and cultural responsiveness. There are several ethical responsibilities to consider when implementing this experience. For example, any photos or recordings of the children must only be taken with family's prior consent. The digital devices used should always be under educator supervision. All the recorded content must be stored securely and should be deleted if required. Children should also be supported to begin the understanding of simple digital safety ideas like asking permission before recording others or their artwork. These practices ensure we are respecting the children's right to safety, privacy, and ethical participation in the digital environment. Let's talk a bit about the theoretical perspectives that informed my approach for designing this learning experiences. There are mainly two theoretical perspectives that are used for this learning experience. The first is children's right based perspective. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child emphasizes that a child have the right to express his or her views, participate in discussions, and assess quality learning opportunities. This experience supports that by giving the children the choice, voice, and active participation throughout the learning process. The second is the philosophy of technology. This perspective views technology as a tool that can enhance learning when used meaningfully and intentionally. Artificial intelligence was not used in the creation of this multimodal play experience. This plan was created independently by analyzing the case study of Amina, a 3-year-old child that was provided to me in the assessment instructions, and by looking at the early years learning framework, the unit materials, and relevant peer reviewed journal articles. The process involved carefully analyzing Amina's strengths, her interest, and her communication needs, and the cultural background that she grew up in to design an experience that is both meaningful and responsive. This ensured that all the decisions reflect my own understanding and professional judgment, and this experience also reflects my experience of working in the early childhood sector. And here are all the references that I used to create this presentation.